It's NASCAR time on Prime Sports Network. That means Eric Smith from RaceReviewOnline.net joins me. How's it going, Eric?
Doing well. Got back in the June. Now we're out of the month of May flow. Now we can settle back in again before a finally much needed off week next week. So yes, been doing well.
Yeah, double duty. That's rare these days on Sunday.
Yep.
And also, I was like, wait a second. All right, so things were going so well when they had the IndyCar and NASCAR on Sunday. And I'm like, why in Ohio? It was Ohio, right?
Michigan. For IndyCar?
Why in Michigan, Eastern time? Why are they racing at the same time as NASCAR?
The big thing this year was, I got that question asked a lot over the weekend, and it's not ideal. The only problem was last year, if you remember right, the French Open window.
Oh, I don't want to hear about the French Open. Nobody cares about the French Open.
No. They got prime.
And that's over by 12 o'clock anyway.
They IndyCar with their agreement, which this is what I'm actually going to write about here in a little bit. So IndyCar got out of their contract, I think it was 13 races or 14 races on Network NBC. For whatever reason, they didn't choose this one to be on it, which is you think they would with a week after 500. You want this on Network NBC, not USA.
And that NBC had the French Open.
NBC had the French Open window until 2 o'clock. And so...
Yeah, but they're showing doubles past 12 o'clock. Nobody cares about that.
No. And unfortunately...
What a great carryover that is. French Open, IndyCar racing. Hello.
Even if you have to start at 2 o'clock, it's better than 3:30. And what ended up happening was they moved some women's golf tournament from USA to NBC, and IndyCar took over on NBC. And it's like,
US
man,
Open. So the women's US Open was where?
It started off on USA, and then at 3 o'clock window when IndyCar started, they moved the women's US Open over to Network NBC, so basically NBC had the French Open and the women's US Open, and IndyCar was on USA.
Well, how about this? How about we get the French Open till 12, and at 12 we've got IndyCar, and at 3 o'clock we have the women's US Open. What a great day!
Makes too much sense. Whoever did the window to have the French Open till 2 is the problem, I guess. That is what essentially bumped IndyCar
redo
off,
that contract because all you have to do is send that audience when the men's final's over, send them to USA.
Send them to USA, yes.
Or is the Tennis Channel still exist? Send it there.
Exactly.
You know?
And I don't follow tennis much anymore. Is it even that popular anymore?
Honestly, this is the least amount I followed it as well. It's the same thing happened with COVID to me with the NBA. And even baseball a little bit happened to me with tennis because it's become a very elite sport. It's like, I don't want to hear it. And then all these rules, and they were playing these great majors with nobody in the stands. It was just so, get out of here. I don't even forget it. I mean, I'm just...
Yeah, I don't even... I used to like tennis. I have nothing against it. And like Agassi and Sampras and Boris Becker, like I know tennis. I used to like it. Now it's like, I don't know. Is Nadal and Djokovic even still playing?
Nadal keeps winning the French Open. That's how bad it is. It's like he's won like 13 straight French Opens.
Oh, geez. So you might as well, don't put that on NBC until like they make that in the because this is what happened. And I kind of got grilled a little bit by people, and then they actually ended up agreeing with me. Last year, IndyCar at Belle Isle was on NBC and was supposed to start at 12:30. Well, the damn French Open wouldn't end, and they bumped IndyCar to NBCSN for the first 40 laps because they just kept playing extra sets. And people were mad. Like, well, where's the IndyCar race? And I'm like, you should bump the French Open. Your window is till noon. And if you can't get that done in a 4-hour window, bump it. Just bump it to a new network. Well, I think that's maybe scared IndyCar off. Was like, well, at least we could start on USA because get bumped again, and they extended the window to 2 o'clock. And it's like, and I didn't watch a single second of it, so I can't tell you if that thing got over before 2 and they did a bunch of commentary after or what. But yeah,
it's still a lot better than 3:30.
Yeah, because you're going head to head against NASCAR, and people are like, well, why can't NASCAR and IndyCar work this out? And it's like, well, I don't think this is a NASCAR problem because all their races start at 3:30.
Because they're idiots. They keep starting all their races in the middle.
They don't listen, and if you look, and I saw it here, I can tell you right now, the rating for the IndyCar race, get an IndyCar race, a prime post Indy 500. Do you want to take a guess of how many fans they got watching that race on USA?
On USA, 500,000. I don't know.
Less.
What?
354,000 people tuned in. A .23 rating.
Well, that's just terrible.
For your NASCAR on FS1, 2.5 million.
And
so there you go.
What about tennis?
I only have the racing one. I haven't seen it. I was going to look it up because I was going to write an article about how you cannot go from Indy 500 to your next race and get 354,000 people watching it. That's it.
Next year, with this race gone, does that mean they're taking off a week with no more Belle Isle?
They're moving it to downtown Detroit.
Oh, so they're still going to go right into it, right after the 500.
Yeah, I would presume they'd go straight to it. And Penske owns the rights, like the Belle Isle. From Detroit, he's the one that promoting this race. So, because I wrote that in my 5 burning questions last week, was should we go to a Belle Isle, a street course race in Detroit a week after Indy? Should you go somewhere that moves the needle more? And that proves my point. 354,000 viewers, like that's all. The people that watched the race was the amount of people basically that came to the Indy 500. It's like, look how much of a nosedive.
What was the ratings last week in the Indy 500?
For almost 5 million, like 4.7 million. So you lost 4.4 million viewers.
That's just crazy. They deserve it.
In 1 week.
That's it.
Yep. That shows.
What they get.
You almost need to start looking like USA. Like, don't go to USA because most people these days, let's be honest, stream. And like, I know I have Hulu. You have to scroll. It's all alphabetized to the very bottom to even find USA. How many people are like, screw this? I'm not scrolling to find.
Shouldn't they have like promos, like once you open your Hulu app for the day, that shows you like some big events?
Usually it groups it, but I don't know where IndyCar was grouped because I was covering the race. So I don't know. I can't speak for it because I didn't have it like live during it, but I just know that a .23 rating for your week, literally the week after the Indy 500, is not good. That is not good growing your series. Part of it being on USA. I think that's a huge part of it because most of the races on NBC were getting almost 1 million views. And that's just abysmal. And even the rating for the Indy 500, and I called this out, wasn't great. The Indy 500 got a terrible rating. 4.7 million people watching it when there's over 5 million last year is, you can't go backwards. It's like, what are you going backwards for? Every other race was getting at least bigger. And I had theories on that. It's because NBC, a lot of people look at as a great partner for IndyCar because they're putting all these races on network TV. But my big thing with it, because this year's 500, which was a disappointment to me too, is you had Elio, who won the fourth 500 the year before. He's going for record 5. Okay. Jimmy Johnson, Romain Grosjean, Scott Dixon, the fastest pole speed ever in the Indy 5. You had all these storylines. I mean, it was right there. And to me, it flopped. It's like, why aren't people watching? And I think a big part of it is when you have every practice and qualifying was only on network TV for 2 hours, if it's all behind a paywall on Peacock, you're not getting the attention. The common fan doesn't know. If you can get some practice and qualifying on NBC, then great, because that'll help. But yeah, IndyCar, they've got some work to do on the TV. Granted, they just signed that new deal last year, but this isn't off to a good start when your Indy 500 rating goes backwards and the race after the Indy 500 gets 354,000. If you want to be a major player, that's not good. That 354,000 is not good.
Well, again, that's pretty much what that's why you either skip the week if it's an issue, because I'd rather just not do it. If that's going to be your ratings, if that's what you have to put the event on USA the week after the Indy 500, then just hold off another week.
Wait a week. Yeah. Because wait a week, go to NBC because you're 354,000. Let's be honest, that's your diehards. Those people are going to come back anyway, no matter what.
Yeah.
You're not after those people because you already have those people. You need to grow, and that tells you that even off of a normal race on NBC that would get, let's just say, an average of 1 million, you basically lost 650,000 viewers just off that, and you lost. Granted, the Indy 500 again wasn't a strong group, but 4.7 million people watched it. You had a loss of 4.4 million people from one week. Yeah. Literally 1 week.
Deserved it.
That's a problem.
Nope.
But NASCAR, 2.5 million.
What was the rating for NASCAR? Strong. What is their average this year?
I'll look. It's got to be in the 2s or 3s.
So they were averaged on Sunday. That was an average rating.
But you got to – that was on FS1, not Fox. Sure. For FS1 to get 2.5, I bet you that was one of the better FS1 races for viewership. Yeah. Because usually in FS1, they're like 1 million, 1.2 million. They don't get a lot of ratings on FS1. Usually it's the big network is where you – but for FS1 to get 2.5 million and that sold-out crowd, good for them. They did it right.
I bet you next year, though, the ratings have got to drop because that was clearly the boringest race of the year. Now, good for the fans that showed up, and it's great, sort of like what we talked about with the dirt race, but more of the ratings as opposed to the fans showing up. That, hey, this is great. Look at the fans. And the ratings were fine. Well, we're coming back. Nobody wants to watch that. I mean, that's just watching Joey Logano try to pass Kyle Busch in those last 20 laps. It was just so excruciating. It's like, come on, this is terrible. This is like the old days, last year. This is what we were watching. It reminded me of a smaller Pocono. That's what it really reminded me of.
Yep. Well, and it shows, too, that, and I've said this a lot about NASCAR races, it's funny how an end-of-race caution can skew, because a lot of people I've seen like, oh, this is a great race. No, you saw a great ending in overtime.
Great race.
You neglected the first 95% of the race. That was terrible. And people saying, I was reading people's comments, and it's like, I don't know if that was a great race when you see you like the ending. Is what you liked, but you can't ignore the fact that it was a blow. Basically, I guess in a stick and ball sports, it was a blowout game until the team got hot in the final 3 minutes, and then you say that was a great game, but you neglected the first 3/4 of it. So that kind of, it's like, me, what worries me, and I've already got this pre-written for in a couple weeks. We'll get to the halfway point of the season, and my main point of this article is NASCAR needs to fix this car on short tracks. And this one is classified as a short track because it raced like one. Phoenix kind of was a dud. Richmond was a dud. Martinsville was definitely a dud. And now Gateway, for 95% of it, was a dud. Our final 2 races this year, Martinsville, Phoenix. Look what our product has been so far. Are we going for most a year? I think we can say this next-gen car has produced. We've had some good racing. The short tracks of all places are the ones that have not produced. Our final 2 races are on short tracks. Are we going to have a great year and end on the dud? Because are we going to get that artificial caution at the end of Phoenix? Our whole season and complexity is going to change off of a caution again. Is that what we're going to?
Well,
because that's.
But you know how WWE it is anyway with the last race. Yep. The top 4 are going to be at the end.
Top 4.
That's still, of course, we wanted them on a better track, and it's still more exciting if we had it somewhere else. But still, it's just the whole thing it's just almost a gimmick. But yeah, what do they do? What's the solution on the short tracks?
They've got to find something. Yep, you've got to find something on short tracks to make this better because everywhere else is good. That tells me you can pass. Here's the key: can you not pass if there's not much room? Is that the issue? These tracks aren't big enough. The intermediates, I'm like, hell, Vegas, Kansas, Charlotte, you can pass again. You couldn't pass in the old car, but those are bigger tracks. Is this a byproduct of the tracks now? And this car is just not correlating well with the track? Because at some point, you got all these guys, they're good drivers. It's hard to pass somebody when the cars are all good and equal. And is it the shifting? Do we need to somehow get these gearing and RPMs where you don't have to shift. Is that what's called? I don't work in NASCAR to know the fix. I write about the fix and the solutions they come with, but as we sit here in June, I think we can address there needs to be something that needs to happen, because at the end of the year, we can't have this. And I also don't want to see a race construe. Like, what if that was the championship? What if Kyle Busch was on his way to winning the championship and Kevin Harvick fluke wrecking at 3 to go, 4 to go, completely alters the course of a champion? Like, I don't want to see that. That's not fair.
Yeah,
I don't want to see a race altered that way.
At that point, it did. Even though Logano, you kind of felt he was going to get close to Kyle again. It was like, okay, he's probably going to have to wreck him because he just can't pass him. And so that, it could have happened. It wasn't like he had a big lead, and it looked like Logano was using like maybe a lap to kind of every lap, like if he would attempt it and then he'd use another lap to kind of gear up again. And then it was just really hard to watch. But then the caution comes out and then you kind of felt, well, was that good or not? I mean, Logano, he was getting kind of close, but then obviously when the caution comes out and then Joey gets the lead, and once he opened up even the smallest of leads, you knew it was over. That's it.
It was gone. Yeah, I saw that inning. I'm like, he's gone. Yeah. Kyle's not getting back to him. Kyle was close. I'm like, Logano had a better car at that point. But again, that goes to show the guy with the better car couldn't pass the car in front of him until that caution.
Not good.
That is a problem. You should be able to pass. But that's a short track. Now we go to a road course. So let's see the road course in Coda. Hey, that was a street fight with Chastain and Reddick
fun.
And Bowman.
Yeah.
Sonoma's notorious in the past been kind of just a follow the leader parade pit stop strategy. What happens this time around? Does this new car help that? Because if this new car helps this, then it's short tracks. Short tracks would be the problem, and that's something that needs to be fixed.
Well, yeah. So at least the road course that we've had this year was exciting. So maybe it is. Yeah. Maybe if we get a good race on Sunday, it will be just the short tracks and not a combination. But so far, so good as far as the road courses. Before we get started, I did want to take a shout out to one of our viewers, Randy Fisher, who talked about how much he liked the show, which we appreciate. But he was also wondering about the Patreon subscription and what you get for it. So if anybody out there is listening, what you do is, well, first of all, you can go to our patreon.com/PrimeSN, go to that account up and we have a link to it on the channel. Yeah. So it's very easy to find. And you can check out, there's just one tier we have right now. It's a $10 tier. Now, what I'm saying at this point, since it's the beginning of putting this together, that look, it's a $10 tier. We appreciate what you can afford. We understand the times are tough. So if you're like, you know what, I'd like to do it, but I can only afford $5 a month, and let us know on the channel. Say, look, can you create a $5 tier? Because I'll do it for $5. I can't do it for 10. I'll put that together for you. So, the $10 tier is just because obviously there's a lot of extras there. It takes a little bit of extra time for Eric. There's a whole bunch of good stuff that you get for that price. But I understand if you can't afford it, just let us know. The main thing is we want you to enjoy the content. So we want you to become a member. So just check. And by the way, you can check out on the previous show that we did, the recap for last week's race. The Coca-Cola 600, I actually responded to Randy and put together a whole big, a detailed account of what you get for the $10. So this way you don't even have to go to the Patreon page if you don't want to. Just reference back to the description area of last week's show. All right. So anyway, that's what we're doing as far as Patreon. And again, by the way, it's right there up on the screen on our template, patreon.com/PrimeSN. So you can't link that button, but at least you know where you're going. Now, let's preview Sonoma. And now you said last week, I think, Eric, that Sonoma, they're changing the layout?
Yes. It's moving back to the 1.99 layout. It was 2.52. They took out the carousel, took out the part you couldn't really pass in, and let's make the course a little bit shorter. Another better passing zone. So will it work? Remains to be seen, because The last time we used that was 2019, and that was the different car. So we've seen this new car change a lot of things. Or I'm sorry, 2018 was the last time we used this one. So completely different car. We'll see if this one, the braking zone, can help. Yeah. But they're trying. I applaud them. Hey, they realized the 2.5 mile one didn't necessarily work. Let's go back to the other layout we used, and we'll try it out. So
here's an interesting thing. Correct me if I'm wrong. Only 5 drivers that are eligible that'll be racing in the field on Sunday have won this race. Won at Sonoma before. Just 5. Kyle won twice. Right. Truex won 3 times. Kurt Busch, Larson, and Harvick. That's it. Those are the only drivers ever won on this racetrack.
This race used to be dominated by Gordon, Stewart. I think Wallace won a few. Like, so a lot of the guys that win here are like famers. And then it got some parity. You got Edwards in there, but a lot of those guys are retired. And then recently, Kyle, like you said, Truex went on a hot streak. Harvick won a few years ago. This is one that it seems like the best teams win here, but a lot of that was because they're the best teams on the season. They figured it out that you could pit here and punt away stage points, and then after the stage, you get your track position back. Second stage, punt away stage points, exit final stage in good position, split the final stage up pit-wise, and you're in front because nobody can pass you. So change now? Do people race this differently, knowing we've got 11 different winners already? That's what I'm kind of watching, is what happens to this race in a sense. New car, stages are the same. We're going back to the old layout, but it's the different winners. Do guys like, hey, I still need a points race just because I won, because I don't want to necessarily risk a couple more fluke winners, and now we get close to 16, and am I in danger of bumping out? Now I'm points racing again. So points are sitting there for who wants them. It always seems like this race is, here's your points, 10 for the win, 9 for second, 8 for third, all the way down to 1 for 10th. Who wants them? Because a lot of people bail out. So then do you catch a caution during it? We haven't really caught a caution to flip the field like you see in IndyCar, but does this new car that's harder to drive cause one? So it used to be a straightforward race. There's a reason the teams that were championship level that hit good pit stops, good strategy, that are always in the championship in the end, hunting the ends, because they had it all down pat by this point in the season anyway. So we'll see if that changes. I mean, Hendrick had a dominating run on road courses, and they just look flat out pedestrian in COTA. So if they look pedestrian again this week, and then I think this new car is definitely starting to turn things around on road courses.
That'd be good. And
that's what we want.
Qualifying has been, as usual, extremely important. Yes. And all you have to do is take a look at the last 12 winners have all started in the top 14. So if you do not qualify in the top 14, you might be in trouble. Again, it's a new car. We'll see. 7 of the last 12 started in the top 8. 5 of the last 12 in the top 5. 3 in the last 12 in the top 2. But 2 of the last 3 have started in the top 2. So we'll find out whether the new car changes all that. And then, look, we're not even going to talk much about a lot of these long shots, but it's funny. I'm looking, because you mentioned, the top drivers, top teams are going to win. And you take a look at, once you get past, I don't know, maybe Kevin Harvick, you could throw Almirola in there at 60-1. Everybody else is like, are they even in the race? Does anybody care? Because between Burton and then you got Stenhouse, Wallace, Buescher, Custer, Dillon, Haley, and McDowell, who are 300-1 and 500-1, none of them that I just mentioned have a top 10 at this racetrack. None of them.
Nope.
The only one at 300-1 that does is Keselowski. And he does have 2 top 10s in his last 3, but that's because of where he used to be.
Yeah, and he hasn't been a strong road course racer over the years either. So it's like, I saw him at 300-1. I'm like, do I? I mean, you're getting Keselowski for 300-1. And then I look, out of his last 11 Sonoma races, he's got 1 top 5. And that was with Penske.
Yeah.
He's with a different, like, no. I'll there's a reason they're 300-1. And you look at his finishes on the season. I mean, you go really since Talladega, which was supposed to be a strong suit for him. 23rd, 20th, 34th, 14th, 30th, 20th. I just don't
30th
think on
in
a
points.
race. Yeah.
He's behind Todd Gilliland.
Yeah.
Who?
You got to remember he was penalized at 100 points earlier in the year. So,
okay.
but
where would he be then?
You give him 100 points.
He would be at
well,
what?
He's got. I'm looking
300.
right now. He's got 200 points. So he'd have 300. That would slot him right ahead of
McDowell.
293, who is McDowell. He'd be 21st.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Still not great.
Yeah.
That's about where that car you'd expect it to be.
All right. So now, last year, the odds on the favorite at this racetrack 2-1. 2-1 last year to win at Sonoma, or at least actually I have it on my last short track. Road course. So what was our last road course race last year? Oh, that's right. It was actually it was the one from this year then.
COTA. Yeah.
Elliott was 2-1. Larson was 3-1.
And they finished 1-2. So it actually worked out where they. I remember us talking about this race. Like you really only could choose one of the two because they're 2-1. Or if you choose them both, there's
I was wondering. No, because I haven't. I don't think. I think I updated this for this year. So I think those odds were from COTA, the race that Chastain won. I'm not COTA. Circuit of the Americas.
Yes, that's COTA. Yep,
that is COTA. Okay. So
yes,
that's the one Chastain won. And by the way, Chastain was 25-1 on that one. And so, because I usually update them from last year. I don't individual race them. So I just go road course race because most of the odds stay the same. And that's why I do it that way, because this way when I'm redoing the odds, I don't have to move them a whole lot. I don't have to go like just. So I have now a system but I'm not doing every race. So Elliott was 2-1, Larson was 3-1. And now they're both 6-1.
Yeah, think about that. They almost doubled. Basically, won 4 times. But, you're getting better. Well, like I said, they didn't look real good.
No.
There. Yes, you had a 2-4 finish, but that was kind of a fluke. They weren't – Larson was nowhere to be found all
Bowman does
weekend.
what he always does. He comes from late.
He just showed up. Yeah.
And almost won. He actually could have won that race.
He did, but he didn't necessarily have a car. He wasn't in the pat like last year, the year before even. They're dominated. But COTA, they were even 1-2 in COTA last year, and this year the stats say the box score says 2-4, but that wasn't really indicative of how good they actually were or bad they were.
What was the okay? So what happened at COTA? What was it? COTA.
COTA.
Get that straight. What happened there was, if I recall, on Saturday, Chastain got dumped late in the Xfinity race.
Yes.
And then
that's correct.
In the Cup race, it happened to him again, like to AJ, I think. Was AJ the one that kind of dumped him away?
Yes. Yeah. So he was dominating. He led basically the whole final stage. And it's kind of the last lap. They had a late race caution, overtime restart. Allmendinger kind of got into him. Not on purpose. I don't think Allmendinger didn't race that way, but slid into him. Almost knocked him out almost. But he came back and he pushed Allmendinger back out of the way for the win. And I look at that as that was Chastain's race.
Absolutely.
So I was okay with it.
We were okay with that. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Now, of course, little did we know what was going to happen on Sunday.
Yeah, now he's got more enemies. But yeah, that race for COTA, I was like, he 100% should have done that because he should have won the race, and he ended up coming back and winning the race on that last lap. Yeah. But the reason Bowman was second was because that contact with Allmendinger. Remember, Reddick was right there too, and they both won off course, and Bowman just slid back in the second. But he did not have the second place car in that race. The only reason Bowman would have won was if they all three took each other out when they almost did. And Elliott never was a factor. And if you look, prior to this season, when we had one road course race, Hendrick had 9 road course wins in the last 11 road course races. They were 1-2 in COTA, 1-2 in Sonoma, 1-2 in Watkins Glen, 3-4 in Indy. Chase Elliott himself won 6 of the last 11 road course races. And they didn't dominate. They didn't lead much. It was more Trackhouse was the team that looked better out of Chevy camp. Last year, Larson and Elliott were 1-2 in this race. So that's why I get their odds. But if you look at COTA, which is this year new car, I don't know if I'd sway their way. That's what the odds have dropped for them and opened up for kind of more drivers, I think.
Well, both of you guys went with Elliott and Larson.
Yeah.
And a matter of fact, there are 5 drivers we've all agreed upon.
Kyle, another one?
Yes. No,
Truex?
not another one. I didn't say that I took both Elliott and Larson. I said you guys did.
Oh, you did say you guys. There's 5. Okay. So I'm going to say you took Larson.
Yes.
Okay. Kyle
Yes.
Busch. Truex.
No more favorites.
Was Truex a yes?
No more favorites.
No. Okay, no more favorites after Kyle. Okay. Who we go down? Harvick?
Yes.
Bell?
No, CJ did not take Bell.
He didn't take Bell. Wow. He's my pick to win. 3. 2 more. Suarez?
Yes.
Okay. And 1 more. Trying to think long. Did we do? Well, no, he's up towards the front. I'm drawing a blank. Who's the 5th?
Reddick.
Okay. I was gonna say, my brain kept saying Chastain, but I'm like, no, he's too far up there to be a longer
like
shot.
Favorite, yeah.
I get him and Reddick for whatever reason. 3 years later, I still combine the two, and I don't know why. It's because back in Xfinity, they shared a ride at one point, and I just, for some reason, just combined the two. But anyway, yes, Reddick.
So those are the 5 we all agreed on. And again, I did not take Elliott because right now, I mean, wow, for Elliott to be in first place still after finishing 29th, 33rd, and 21st in his last 3 races. And let's keep in mind, he only has 1 win this year. So that just shows you the kind of parity we've got going on. And that's it. And plus, he hasn't won at Sonoma. So I figured, you know what?
He's 0 for 5. Yep.
Yeah, I'm not going to go with Elliott at this point because I went with the other 3. So I didn't want to take them all based on the way Elliott's driving. I just said, because if I took all 4, then I'm totally eliminating other potential options to try to make some money a little bit later on in a race that could end up like Coda. So,
yep. If this race does look like Coda, then I just, the only reason I took Elliott was like strong on road courses. He was runner up here last year. Do I take him? And I'm like, and then I was looking at the list. I'm like, I just can't see that any other drivers winning. I could have doubled up on Larson. I'm like, I'm going to try it this week because I'm starting to own in now. I'm starting to find guys that you really feel good at and guys that I used to just, I could have won more, but I threw more longer shots in. And now it's like, we're getting to the point where I'm starting to own. You're like, okay, I think like right now, I don't think Elliott, like you said, is probably going to win this race. I threw money his way. As you see, it's a small win. Even if he does, it's a win, but it's small. But yeah, out of my grouping that I chose, he's the least I feel good about for this weekend.
Who's your top out of the 4? Mine is Kyle.
Kyle. I said Kyle's I just put my covers picks up. He's my top favorite. He's just 3 straight top 3s, 2 straight runner-ups.
He's too hot. Yeah.
He's a 2-time winner at this track. 5 top 5s his last 6 there. It's like Toyota has been good at Sonoma. 2 of the last 3 races they've won there. They've won 2 of the last 3 on the season. Could have been 3 straight if Kyle won last week. It's like he's just too good right now. I think he's my top favorite. And you get him, was he 9-1, 10-1, something like that? 10-1. So, but double the odds. So,
yeah. And Truex was more of he's just so good here that even though this has nothing to say about me feeling confident about him, because I'm still the same way I felt about him all season. I feel about him now, even though he has 6th place finish in 2 of his last 3. He hasn't really done much like lead laps or anything, but he's just too good here for me to pass up.
He is 2 top 5s all season, but he's led the most laps in 3 of the last 4 years in Sonoma. He's won this race 3 times, 3 straight top 3s there. So I'd say, honestly, in saying that, if he doesn't get in the top 3 again, or even top 5, then yeah, it's trouble. Because he mentioned last week, I saw his Bob Hawkins' video about his future, and he's still non-committal about what he's doing. I still think until he figures that out, he's not going to, I mean.
Why? What happened? I thought he was going to make his mind up last week.
He still hasn't, he said. He still said give him a couple more weeks. And I just feel like he definitely is on the fence. And I point to IndyCar is Pato O'Ward he wasn't sure what he was doing with his future. Then he's like, you know what? I'm not going to sulk. Maybe F1 doesn't work out. This is the best team for me. I'm going to re-up. Then he took off. He's got 4 top 5s his last 5 finishes. Nearly won the Indy 500. Alexander Rossi. Andretti, he was struggling. He wasn't happy. He's like, there's got to be more out there. They announced last weekend he's going to McLaren. He's leaving Andretti. It's a done deal. It's solidified. It's out there. He gets his best result of the season. I don't think it's a fluke. No. Once you announce your plans, it's like the weight is gone. I feel like that's what's going on with Truex right now. I feel like it's just he's there. So if he doesn't finish well, I'm going to point that's probably, unless, granted, say he's running well and gets taken out by an engine or a wreck or something, that's different. But if he just is an afterthought again, he doesn't get another top 5 at a track is probably his best lately.
Trouble.
Then, yeah. You've got to figure this decision out. And because I think even if he retires, like, hey, this is it for me, his stats will, I think, will improve. But until then, again, you're getting him at 10-1 for a guy that's led the most laps in 3 of the last 4 years. I'm like, I got to take him.
Yeah.
But it's going to tell a lot for what I do about him in the future until he makes that decision as Sunday's race.
By the way, Kyle Larson has the pole here in 4 straight races.
Yep.
So that's crazy. And we'll find out whether or not he can make it 5 in a row. First win, by the way, was last year. And not a surprise because last year everything went really well for Kyle Larson. Okay, so now we get the 12-1 shots. And AJ, by the way, is 12-1, so he's back. So he could always, who knows, he could be there at the end. Nobody picked him, though. Chastain, we talked about his win earlier this year at COTA. You guys picked him. I did not. I just, I don't know. With Chastain, you know, I don't know if he's going to get taken out.
That was my factor. I took him only because he was 12-1. I'm like, he won at COTA. He was 7th at this track last year. I'm going to go ahead and take him at 12-1. I was worried, 1, getting taken out, or 2, he owned up. I'll give him credit.
That's great.
He owned up for his moves. So does he drive more conservative this week? Does he not want to do it again? Is it in his head? And because a conservative Ross Chastain is not who he is. So that could affect his finishing spot. So I wondered that. I almost didn't take him because I'm like, he's got his team support. His team is saying the right thing. No, he didn't do anything wrong. Be aggressive, because I think they know what we're talking here. If it's in his head, he may not make that move. I don't want to drive in too deep and take somebody else out. You could tell he genuinely felt bad. So,
and if he's in the lead and he's got a driver in second that is a veteran, especially, he ain't gonna care.
No. And let's play the other scenario around. Let's say COTA happens again. And let's say the move somebody does to him isn't necessarily wrong, but they kind of slide him out of the way a little bit. Don't you think he might not pay back on the last lap? Don't you think he might just like, look, after last week, I've already got 2 wins.
Could be.
I don't need another drama. I'm just going to settle for second here. So I think it's in his head. I think, now granted, we're still a long way from Sunday, but I think I'm a little bit regretting that pick, but because he was 12-1, I took him. But I don't know. I think it might be in his head.
Yeah, I had a driver. Actually, I had a couple of drivers that you guys didn't take that I kind of put my money on it to not put money on guys like Elliott and Chastain. But Hamlin, CJ went with Hamlin.
Not bad.
Yeah, 12-1. He's got 5 straight top 10s here, 3 top 5s, and a runner-up. He's never won here though. 8th last year.
Yep.
What about Hamlin?
I almost did, and I struggle. It's like he did that, and then he had 2 total top 10s in his previous 10 Sonoma starts too. And I just wonder if he's got too much drama and chaos going on right now to win. I mean, it's like I feel like when Hamlin wins, he gets it right, and when he doesn't, it's like
he looked like he was getting ready to get hot, and then last week happened.
Yeah, 34th. Then you take he won. Then he was 4th prior. Then you look at before that, 28th, 35th, 18th, 21st, 21st.
Only 19th, and he's got 2 wins.
Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, again, like I said, it's a good Toyota track. I wouldn't be shocked. I mean, he's got 5 straight top 10s, but I just didn't know. Is he going to try to pay back this week?
It's a perfect race to do it.
Come on. Yeah. So that's why I punted on him, but I also wouldn't be shocked if he did win. But I just,
Chastain. The best thing Chastain could do is try to win the pole.
Yeah, get in front
of everybody and try to dictate the race.
Unless Hamlin starts second. If Hamlin starts second or Chase, they might squeeze him.
That's true. Bell, Blaney, Briscoe, and Cindric were 14-1. Nobody went with Blaney, even though Blaney has not been bad on road courses.
No.
He won the Charlotte Roval. He was 6th this year at COTA, 10th at this race last year, so he's not bad. It's just that even though he was 4th last week, there's still something. Maybe I'd like to see him with another top 5 this week, and maybe we'll see what happens.
I want to see him finish, other than the All-Star race, which everybody said is translated to nothing. I want to see him finish better than 4th. He's not done that all year. His best finish is 4th.
Interesting.
So
a lot of 4ths.
Let's see if a lot of 4th. He's got 4 fourth place finishes.
Yes.
So let's see him get better than 4th. But I thought out of that grouping, Bell is phenomenal for that. It's like that guy he's right now. I think he's other than Kyle, my pick to win. So I went more his route than Blaney's route.
Yeah, the only thing with Bell is, and I would have invested more on Bell if it wasn't for the fact that he's not. It's like last week, basically almost the first stage until Briscoe tire issue. The only driver that changed, like it seemed, from the beginning of the race was Bell going backwards. That was it.
Yep.
Everybody else was basically, if you were first, you were second, you were here, wherever, you were still in that position like 30 laps later. That's how boring the race was. But Bell was the only one that went backwards. It's like, this is kind of what's been going on. He's qualifying well every week, but he's not like, one of these weeks he has to get off to a big start, take advantage of the qualifying position, move forward, and start leading some laps.
And I think this might be the week because this track is hard to pass on too. It's more strategy. More guys just settle in. And I was looking at his finishes, and he's 4th, 6th, 5th, 5th, 9th last week. And it's like, okay, so he's getting hot. 7th in Bristol Dirt. Then you look at road courses. His only win is on a road course, and Daytona road course. He was runner-up in Road America. Watkins Glen, he was running, 2nd or 3rd when Larson kind of punted him. The Indy road course, he was running in the top 5 before getting caught up in that big melee on the backstretch there last year. And then in COTA, he was 3rd. Yeah. So I'm like, 14-1 for a guy that's hot. Him and Kyle, I think you can make a case for the 2 hottest drivers as far as consistency right now in the sport. And this is a good track for Toyota. And Bell's been good on road courses. So I'm like, yeah, for 14-1, I'm going to invest more his way and see if he can figure out, get a win and be the 12th different winner this year, which I wouldn't be shocked.
Matter of fact, I had the exact same amount 10 invested on him until I took a couple of bucks away just for the fact that, you know what, I've invested a lot of money on him the last few weeks and he's let me down. So I'm going to take a little bit of money away from him this week. I still got money on him. I'm going to take just a couple of bucks away to try to inch up another driver who's one of the drivers I mentioned that nobody else took, that I just figured, you know what, it's not because just I have him on my fantasy team, because I think it's actually a good thing to kind of go against your fantasy drivers in picks so you have a win.
Double that. Yeah.
But
somewhere.
But Briscoe is somebody that, if this is just, I think, a good time for him, because even though he was 24th last week, that was because his tire went down. Otherwise, he could have won this race because it's just track position. That's all it was last week. He was 4th the week before, and we know what happened there. He could have won. And here, and even though I don't think he's shown much in the Cup Series, he does have a couple of road course wins in the Xfinity Series. So he knows how to race on the road courses, and I just figured, all right, well, he's racing well. He's done well before on road courses. Maybe he's this week's Ross Chastain.
Could be.
COTA.
He could be. Yeah, he could be. In his thing, the only reason I didn't take him was his recent finishes of 20th, 24th, 4th, and then 24th again. But that's because of the tire. So Tony Stewart was good in that car at Sonoma, the 14 car. So that car knows how to get to victory lane. So yeah, you're getting good odds for him for a road course guy. That I wouldn't be shocked. I definitely wouldn't be shocked if he won.
Cindric, actually, CJ was the only one to put money on Cindric. What did you think about CJ putting money on Cindric?
I just don't like the Fords this week there. He's a good road racer. He's a road racer by nature. So you're getting good odds for a guy to road race. But again, like I said last week, I want to see him get a top 10. Since he was 8th in COTA, he was 8th. 20th, 11th, 16th, 21st, 36th, 18th, 11th, 34th, 11th. It's like, I just don't get a sense that out of those stats, is he just going to magically jump up and win a race? I just don't see it yet.
Which would be his second of the year.
It'd be a second of the year, but he won in the super speedway, so road course would be out of the realm. But it's like, that's his only top 5 still.
Yeah.
And again, as I said at the top of the show, Sonoma is a place that the best teams seem to win for a reason. By June, you should be owning in. And it's like, are you really going to make a jump from no top 5 since the Daytona 500 to a win? Yeah. I just don't know if they're there yet. Not with a rookie. The veteran, I could see you flipping it on, but a rookie, I don't know yet.
Kurt Busch, we both put money on Kurt Busch at 16-1, and he's actually had a very good career at Sonoma.
Yes.
More than 50% of the time he's in the top 10. 7 of those are top 5s. He won in 2011. He's led a couple of 100 laps overall, and he has 10 straight top 15s at the track. 6th last year. He's also in a nice groove right now. 3rd last week, winning at Kansas a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. 5 top 10s his last 6 there, and 2 top 3s his last 3 on the season. And he's in a Toyota now. So Toyota, like I said, I feel like they're the manufacturer to beat this weekend. And this is the first time he'd raced at Sonoma in a Toyota. So I'd be curious what he can do with it. We see what his brother does with Toyota Power and Truex. We've seen Hamlin get hot there recently. So, yeah, I think Kurt's got a good shot. And for his odds, definitely was a no-brainer.
I was the only one that put a couple of bucks on Bowman just because he's 18-1, and just like what happened at Coda, I just think Bowman is still. I think he's capable on road courses, sort of like Blaney capable. So at that number, it's like, well, I'd rather put money on Bowman than Blaney because the odds are a little bit better. And and again, he was second. He deserved to be. He was more of a top 5 at best car, but he also was 2 top 5s on the Roval. So, and he has 2 top 10s in 5 races at this racetrack.
Yeah, not a bad guy 18-1 for a road course for a Hendrick guy. And he was 9th in 2 of his last 3 Sonoma starts. So, yeah, I think he can improve. So, yeah, do I think he's going to go out and dominate and win? No, but like you said, who's to say people are going to take each other out in the last lap? And there he is sitting there. I think that's where he could be. He's a very strong fantasy play, and a guy that I do feel he's going to be knocking that top 5 door. So we've seen crazier things happen.
No one went with Byron because he's never had a top 15 in 3 trips to Sonoma. Crashed last year. He's 18-1 with Bowman. Reddick is 25-1. We talked about Reddick, so we all have Reddick, who was 5th at Coda. What do you like about Reddick?
Just he's worked hard on improving on road courses. He mentioned that last year, and he said it again this year. And he was good in Coda, and he's good on road. He's improved, and I feel like he's better this season. Yes, he hit a little bit of a dry spell, but he was still runner-up in Darlington. He was 6th in Charlotte, so he's got 2 top 6s his last 4. And I just feel like for those odds for a guy that almost won Coda, that was a no-brainer. So I like him for that. And again, RCR knows how to win there, so let's see what he can do.
Okay, and then at 30-1, we have Jones, Logano, and Suarez. And out of this group, we actually, you did not take Jones. It was just me and CJ. Nope. 11th or better in 3 of his 4 races at Sonoma. He was 9th at Coda this year. 2 top 5s at Watkins Glen. So at 30-1, I figured why not put a couple of bucks there. But Suarez, as we mentioned, we all put money on Suarez. He's been in the top 20 all 4 times at Sonoma. Won the stage 1 at Coda this year. And he's got 2 top 5s at Watkins Glen.
Yeah, and he said he led the entire first stage, and he was great in Coda. It just he had bad luck, and he got spun on that restart. If that doesn't happen, I think, honestly, it might be him instead of Chastain winning. So this is a great shot for him to get his first career win. I mean, Chastain gets his first career win in Coda. Wouldn't it make sense if his teammate gets his first career win in Sonoma? So it'd be a good storyline, and for those odds, yeah, definitely. I felt good about Suarez.
All right, and then there's Harvick at 50-1. And
crazy, he's 50-1. Yeah.
I mean, yes, he's not going. He's been very inconsistent. He hasn't led laps this year, but he's 50% of the top 10, like Kurt Busch. He's got a win in 2017. He's been 6th or better in 5 of the last 6 races at Sonoma.
Yeah, and you look on the season, he's starting to get good again. He's got 4 top 10s his last 6. He was 3rd in the 600, 4th at Darlington. So, I mean, he was 11th in COTA. Wasn't like he was terrible. So it's starting to look like Kevin Harvick's figuring it out. Do I think similar as Bowman? Do I think he's going to go out and like dominate? No. But strategy work out. People take each other out. There he might sit. I mean, he's a past winner at Sonoma. He knows what to do. So for those odds, for him, like that was an absolute no-brainer to go Kevin Harvick's way.
By the way, the only other driver I wanted to mention before we wrap it up is Micah McDowell, because he led a ton of laps last week, and he now has 4 top 10s in his last 7 races on the season. Mm-hmm. Now, nobody's picked him up on our fantasy team. Were you thinking about it?
I did, because he's starting to look good, and he's a road racer by nature. But my fantasy team, I just feel like I would be breaking
momentum.
I mean, I came all the way up to 2nd now. I've got 7 wins. I'm like, who do you drop in favor of him, though? The only one I would drop would be Almirola, but then I looked at the rest of the season. That might gain me 1 week. But do you pick up Almirola? Does CJ next week pick him up before I can get him back? I'm like, it might be a 1-week game, but I don't know if it's.
Yeah, I'm pretty much on a 1 more maybe race deal with Stenhouse, because his hot streak ended, and now,
which he admitted was I saw his quote that their short track program wasn't good. He's like, I'd be happy with the top 20. I would hold on to him if I were you, with Nashville coming up. He was, I think, 2nd there last year?
That's kind of what I was thinking about, too.
He's good on intermediates, and I feel like, I don't know their road course package. If he doesn't feel good about the short track package, I don't feel great about his road course package, and you've got some races coming up where not necessarily – you got more road courses coming up, but your long-term game –
Exactly.
Yeah,
I'm in first place.
Hold on to Nashville.
Yeah, so I shouldn't do anything rash.
But I think after Nashville, you got a strong case to maybe cut ties and feel good that CJ and I won't pick him up, because then you got Road America again. You got Atlanta, to where he was 31st at. Then you got New Hampshire, another short track. Pocono, he might be all right. Indy road course. Michigan, you got another short track at Richmond. Another road course at Watkins Glen. Then you got Daytona. But it's just, you might be riding that roller coaster with him.
And I like the fact that he's driving a Chevy. That's important.
That could help.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, but look, there's other potential free agents out there. You got Busher, Haley, Wallace. I mentioned McDowell. So there are a few drivers but they have to get hot, which McDowell has done. But
he has.
Yeah.
And I think where like I was saying all year with my fantasy team, was getting hot. That just let him get hot. Let's wait. Well, 4 drivers have 2 wins this year, and 3 of them are on my team now. So I'm like, okay, my guys are starting to gain. So I'll leave it for right now. And one of them, oddly enough, isn't Kyle Larson.
That's true.
So I'm going to leave it alone for right now.
That's absolutely. Well, Amica Marola's 11th in points. So
yeah, he had a good start of the year. So yeah, I'll leave it.
CJ's all of a sudden in 3rd.
I wondered with his team moving forward. So
he does have Kyle Busch, though.
He does, and Kyle could get hot too.
Yeah. So, all right. Next week what's next week?
Off week.
Oh, off week.
The one and only.
Wow. Well, yeah, the All-Star race was really like an off week, but yeah, off week.
Yes.
The true off week.
Off week. The true off week.
Father's Day Sunday.
Yep, and then they're back in Nashville after that.
Okay, sounds good. So I'm not sure when we're going to be back. Maybe we'll be back depending on how things go next week, just to recap. But we'll definitely be back in 2 weeks when we preview Nashville.
Yep, Nashville.
Okay, sounds good. And don't forget, check out racereviewonline.net. What's up with the IndyCar racing schedule?
They got Road America this week, and then they're off for a couple weeks, and then back at Mid-Ohio the 4th of July weekend.
When is the race? Sunday? Saturday?
Sunday at noon. They're noon, 12:30 start. So they're before NASCAR this week. Yeah,
smart.
Back to normal.
Yeah. No French Open this week. So
no French Open this week.
All right. So again, racereviewonline.net. Check that out. Check out our Patreon page at Prime SN, and we will see you again soon right here on Prime Sports NASCAR.